What if I told you that Google almost never existed? That in 1999, Larry Page and Sergey Brin were so desperate to get rid of their startup that they offered to sell it for just $1 million. And the company that could have owned Google said no. The CEO who turned them down? George Bell of Excite. This isn't just about a missed opportunity. This is about how one stubborn decision by a young programmer saved the world's most valuable company from being buried forever. The real story, it gets even crazier. Because in 1999, these two worlds couldn't have been more different. On one side, Larry Page and Sergey Brin hunched over borrowed computers in a cramped Stanford dorm room. Empty pizza boxes scattered around. Cables running everywhere. These two PhD students had built something incredible, but they were broke. 300 miles north, George Bell sat in Excite's gleaming corporate headquarters in Redwood City. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble floors. Bell was the CEO of one of the internet's biggest portals. Excite was a major player in the search game, competing with giants like Yahoo and Alta Vista. Two completely different worlds. But in 1999, they were about to collide in the most unexpected way. Here's what makes this story so crazy. Page and Brin had actually solved search. Their PageRank algorithm analyzed backlinks to rank pages by importance. It was revolutionary. But they had zero business experience, zero funding, and zero idea how to turn their breakthrough into money. Meanwhile, Bell was running a search empire. Excite was one of the original internet portals. They had millions of users, major advertising deals, a stock price that kept climbing. Their search technology, it worked fine, not great, but fine. And that was enough. The irony hits you like a punch to the gut. The company with the superior technology was begging for scraps. The company with inferior technology held all the power. But here's where it gets real. Page and Brin weren't just broke, they were desperate. Their academic advisors kept pushing them to finish their dissertations. Stop playing with this search thing, they'd say. Focus on your degrees. The pressure was crushing them. Every month their servers cost more to run. Every week, they maxed out another credit card. The weight of that decision, it was eating them alive. Bell had no idea any of this was happening. Why would he? Excite was printing money. They were the kings of internet portals. Search was just one feature among many. Users came to Excite for news, weather, sports, email. Search was almost an afterthought. And that's the twist that changes everything. Bell didn't see search as the future. He saw it as a utility, something that got people to his site so they'd stick around and see ads. The longer users stayed on Excite, the more money he made. Better search results? That might actually hurt his business by sending people away faster. Page and Brin saw search completely differently. They believed search should give you exactly what you wanted as quickly as possible. The best result, the fastest answer. Get in, get out, get on with your life. Two completely opposite philosophies about to meet head-on. The mounting pressure on Google's founders was becoming unbearable. Their professors questioned every hour spent on the project. Their families worried about their futures. Their bank accounts showed zeros across the board. They'd already tried licensing their technology to other companies. Nobody wanted it. Think about it. You create something that will change the world, but the world doesn't want to pay for it. You're watching your dreams die in real time. Every rejection felt like another nail in the coffin. Bell, on the other hand, was riding high. Excite had survived the early internet wars. They'd beaten competitors like Lycos and Alta Vista. They were one of the few profitable internet companies. Wall Street loved them. Users loved them. Life was good. But here's the thing that should make you pause. Bell's confidence was built on shaky ground. Excite's search technology was years behind what Page and Brin had created. Their results were often irrelevant. Their speed was slow. Their accuracy was questionable. But users didn't know any better, yet. The collision was inevitable. Two brilliant inventors with the future in their hands, facing two choices: sell their company or watch it die. Across from them, a successful CEO who couldn't imagine that search itself would become the most valuable service on the internet. What happened next would create one of the most dramatic business reversals in history. The desperate would become powerful. The powerful would become forgotten. And one stubborn decision in a conference room would save Google from disappearing forever.
This part of the program is sponsored by Via Nature, where nature meets innovation. Visit vianature.com. Your planet-friendly goodies are just a click away.
But first, Page and Brin had to reach their absolute breaking point. They had to become so desperate that selling their life's work for almost nothing seemed like the only way out. By December 1999, Page and Brin had reached their absolute breaking point. Back in the garage, surrounded by humming servers and stacks of unpaid bills, they faced a brutal reality. They had Andy Bechtolsheim's $100,000 check from Sun Microsystems. That money had disappeared faster than water in the desert. Server costs, bandwidth fees, equipment, repairs, basic living expenses. Within months, they were broke again. But the money problems, that was just the beginning. Page and Brin were still PhD students at Stanford. Their professors urged them to finish their dissertations, attend seminars, conduct research, write papers. This search thing is a hobby, they'd say. Focus on your real work. The pressure was crushing them. Imagine being in their shoes. You've created something revolutionary. You know it's better than anything else out there. But everyone around you treats it like a distraction. Your professors think you're wasting time. Your families worry about your futures. Your bank accounts show zeros. The human side of this story breaks your heart. Page would work until 3 a.m., then catch a few hours of sleep before morning classes. Brin survived on energy drinks and leftover pizza. They'd take turns sleeping on the garage floor when they couldn't afford gas to drive home. The constant stress was eating them alive. And here's the brutal reality. They had the best search technology in the world. Better than Yahoo. Better than Alta Vista. Better than anything anyone had ever seen. But they couldn't figure out how to make money from it. Not a single dollar. Think about it. You've solved one of the internet's biggest problems. You've created something that will change everything. But nobody wants to pay for it. That's not just frustrating. It's devastating. They tried everything before approaching Excite. Licensing deals with other companies. Partnerships with universities. Meetings with venture capitalists. Door after door slammed in their faces. Search isn't profitable, they'd hear. Portals are the future. Focus on content, not technology. Each rejection felt like another nail in the coffin. Each no made them question everything they'd built. Were they wrong? Was their technology worthless? Should they just give up and become regular computer science professors? The breaking point came when they realized they had weeks of runway left. Their credit cards were maxed. Their server bills were piling up. They had maybe enough cash to keep the lights on for a few more weeks. That's it. Page and Brin sat in that garage one night, surrounded by humming servers, stacks of unpaid bills on the table, the weight of failure crushing down on them. They made a decision that would change everything. If they couldn't make money from Google, they'd sell it, get whatever they could, and move on with their lives. But here's the twist that makes this story so crazy. Their desperation made them undervalue their own creation. They didn't ask for millions. They didn't demand a huge payout. They just wanted enough money to pay their bills and get out. The price they settled on? $1 million. For technology that would eventually be worth over $1 trillion. That's not just a bargain, it's basically giving it away for free. Their families couldn't understand it. You're selling your future for nothing, Page's father told him. This technology is worth more than you think. But Page and Brin couldn't see past their immediate problems. The bills, the pressure, the constant fear of failure. What made everything change was their absolute rock bottom moment. They realized they had two choices: sell Google for whatever they could get, or abandon their dream entirely and finish their dissertations. There was no middle ground, no third option, success or surrender. The decision to approach Excite wasn't strategic, it wasn't calculated, it was desperate. They'd heard Bell was looking for new technology. They knew Excite had money to spend. They figured it was their last shot at saving something from the wreckage. That desperation would lead them to make an offer so low it seemed like giving their company away. An offer that would save Google from being buried forever. Because sometimes the best thing that can happen to your company is almost losing it completely. But while Google struggled in that cramped garage, another story was unfolding 300 miles north. a story of confidence, success, and the kind of blind spot that changes everything. George Bell sat atop what seemed like an unshakable empire. His corner office at Excite's headquarters overlooked Silicon Valley. Mahogany desk, awards covering the walls. Bell had built Excite into one of the internet's biggest success stories. Tens of millions of users visited every month. Major advertising deals with Fortune 500 companies. A stock price that kept climbing higher.
This part of the program is sponsored by The Tria, oasis of comfort with a touch of luxury. Visit thetria.com. Your dream home vibe is just a scroll away.
Bell was a seasoned executive who understood the internet game. He'd survived the early portal wars, beaten competitors like Lycos and Alta Vista. Excite wasn't just a search engine, it was a destination. Users came for news, weather reports, sports scores, email accounts, stock quotes, shopping deals. Search was just one feature among many, and that's exactly how Bell wanted it. Here's where it gets interesting. Bell's confidence wasn't misplaced. Excite was printing money. Their advertising revenue grew every quarter. Their user base expanded every month. Wall Street loved them. Industry analysts praised them. Success bred more success. Bell had every reason to believe his strategy was working perfectly. But here's the twist that changes everything. Bell's success was built on a fundamental misunderstanding of what the internet would become. He viewed search as one feature of his portal, good enough to draw users but not so sharp it would send them away. The longer users stayed on Excite, the more money he made. Better search results. That might actually hurt his business. Think about it. If search worked too well, users would find what they wanted and leave immediately. Bell's business model depended on keeping people engaged on his site, browsing multiple pages, clicking through different sections, spending time with his content. Search was supposed to attract users, but not send them away quickly. Bell's strategic thinking made perfect sense in 1999. Internet portals were the kings of the web. Yahoo was worth billions. AOL dominated home internet access. MSN was Microsoft's gateway to online services. The portal model worked. Users wanted everything in one place: news, email, shopping, entertainment, and search. Bell had built the perfect mousetrap. Excite's search technology reflected this philosophy. It was functional, good enough. It found web pages when users typed in keywords, but it wasn't revolutionary. Results were often irrelevant. Speed was mediocre. Accuracy was questionable. Bell didn't care. His users weren't coming to Excite for amazing search results. They were coming for the complete internet experience. Meanwhile, Page and Brin had built something completely different. Their PageRank algorithm didn't just find web pages, it ranked them by importance. It understood which sites were authoritative, which results were actually useful, which pages would give users exactly what they wanted. It was revolutionary technology that made every other search engine look primitive. But here's the brutal irony. Bell couldn't see the value in superior search technology. Why would he? Excite's good enough search was bringing in millions of users. Their advertising revenue was growing. Their stock price was climbing. Better search results wouldn't make him more money. They might make him less. Bell's blind spot was massive. He couldn't imagine that search itself would become the most valuable internet service. He saw it as a means to an end, a way to attract users to his portal. Not the end itself, not the thing that would define the entire internet experience. This misunderstanding would cost him everything. The confidence radiating from Bell's office was infectious. His employees believed they were winning the internet wars. His investors praised his strategic vision. His board members supported his decisions. Everyone around him reinforced the idea that Excite was unstoppable, that their approach was correct, that search was just one small piece of a much larger puzzle. What Bell didn't realize was that the internet was about to change completely. Users didn't want to spend hours browsing portal sites. They wanted fast, accurate answers to specific questions. They wanted to find what they needed and get on with their lives. The portal model wasn't the future, it was about to become the past. This overconfidence would make Bell dismiss what seemed like a desperate offer from two unknown students. Why would he pay $1 million for search technology when Excite already had a working search engine? Why would he replace his functional system with something built by PhD students in a garage? It didn't make business sense. Bell's decision was logical, rational, based on everything he knew about the internet business. But it was also catastrophically wrong. The technology he was about to reject would become the foundation of the world's most valuable company. The students he was about to dismiss would become the richest entrepreneurs of their generation. The stage was set for a meeting that would determine the future of both companies. Bell walked toward that conference room, believing he held all the power. He had no idea he was about to make the worst business decision in history. The conference room at Excite's headquarters was sterile and corporate, white walls, mahogany table. The air conditioning hummed quietly. Outside, Silicon Valley buzzed with .com energy. Inside, two worlds were about to collide in a conversation that would determine the future of the internet. Page and Brin walked in nervous, but determined. You could see it in their posture, the way they clutched their presentation folders, the quick glances they exchanged. These weren't polished executives. They were desperate PhD students who'd practiced their pitch 100 times in that garage. Their clothes were wrinkled, their shoes were worn, but their eyes burned with conviction. Bell entered confident and slightly dismissive. He wore an expensive suit. His handshake was firm. His smile was practiced. This was just another meeting in a long day of meetings. Another startup pitching another solution to problems he didn't think he had. He'd heard hundreds of these presentations. Most were worthless. Why would this be different? The human drama was electric. Page's hands shook slightly as he opened his laptop. Brin's voice cracked when he started explaining their technology. They knew this was their last shot, their final chance to save Google from bankruptcy. Everything they'd built hung on the next 30 minutes. Bell leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, politely interested but not impressed. He'd seen search technology before. Excite had search technology. It worked fine. Their users were happy. Their revenue was growing. What could two students possibly show him that would change his mind? Then came the shocking offer. Page's voice steadied as he delivered the number. We'll sell you Google for $1 million. The entire company. Their revolutionary PageRank algorithm. Their growing user base. Their future potential. Everything they'd built. $1 million. Bell's eyebrows raised slightly. Not from excitement, from confusion. Why would he pay anything for search technology when Excite already had a working search engine? Their current system handled queries daily. Users found what they needed. Advertisers were happy. Revenue flowed steadily. What problem was Google supposed to solve? Here's where it gets real. Bell saw this as charity, not opportunity. He'd be paying $1 million to help two struggling students. Maybe their technology was marginally better. Maybe it was faster. Maybe it was more accurate. But marginally better wasn't worth $1 million. Not when his existing system was profitable. Page sensed Bell's skepticism. His desperation turned into determination. He leaned forward, made direct eye contact. There's one condition, he said. If you buy Google, you have to replace your entire search system with ours. Completely. No hybrid approach. No gradual integration. You use our technology or the deal's off. The room went quiet. Bell's expression changed. This wasn't just about buying a company anymore. This was about admitting that Excite's technology was inferior. That two students in a garage had built something better than his team of experienced engineers. That his profitable search system needed to be scrapped entirely. Think about it from Bell's perspective. He'd built Excite into a major internet destination. His search technology was good enough to attract millions of users. His advertising revenue proved the system worked. Now these desperate students were demanding he throw it all away, replace his proven system with their unproven algorithm. It was insulting. But here's the twist that changes everything. Page's stubborn demand wasn't negotiable. He believed in his technology completely. He knew PageRank was revolutionary. He knew it would change everything. He wouldn't let his creation be buried as a minor feature in someone else's portal. It was all or nothing. Then venture capitalist Vinod Khosla stepped in. He tried to negotiate the price down to $750,000. Maybe a lower price would make the deal more attractive. Maybe Bell would reconsider if the cost was reduced. Bell's reaction was swift and decisive. We're not replacing our system, he said. His tone was final. professional but dismissive. Even at the reduced price, he wouldn't scrap what Excite had built. The meeting was over. Page and Brin left that conference room knowing they'd failed. Their last hope had vanished. They'd have to find another way to save Google, or watch it die completely. Bell returned to his office satisfied. He'd made the right decision. Excite didn't need revolutionary search technology. They needed steady growth, predictable revenue, satisfied users. Why fix something that wasn't broken? The deal died not because of money. It died because of pride. Bell's pride in his existing technology, Page's pride in his revolutionary algorithm. Two different kinds of stubborn conviction meeting head-on. What neither man realized was that this failed meeting would change everything. The rejection that felt like failure was about to become salvation. The paths forward couldn't have been more different. Page and Brin walked out of Excite's headquarters knowing they'd failed. Their last hope had vanished. They had maybe 8 weeks of cash left. 8 weeks to figure out how to save their company, or watch it die completely. The pressure was crushing them. But here's where it gets real. That rejection forced Google to do something they'd never done before. Stop looking for someone to save them. Start saving themselves. They couldn't rely on being acquired anymore. They had to find their own way to make money. And that desperation, it became their greatest asset. Excite continued its portal strategy and saw stagnant search performance. Bell believed he'd made the smart decision. They had tens of millions of users, growing revenue, a proven business model. Why fix something that wasn't broken? His confidence remained sky high. The irony hits you like a punch to the gut. Google's desperation became their superpower. Excite's confidence became their weakness. One company was forced to innovate or die. The other kept doing business as usual. Guess which one survived? Here's what happened next. Google had no choice but to get creative. They couldn't coast on existing success. They couldn't rely on portal traffic. They had to build something people actually wanted to pay for. The rejection that felt like failure was actually salvation. Page and Brin went back to that garage with a new mission. Figure out how to turn their revolutionary search technology into actual money. They'd always resisted advertising. In their Stanford research, they'd argued that ads would corrupt search results, make them biased, hurt the user experience. But desperation changes your principles fast. They realized they had two choices: embrace advertising or abandon their dream. The decision was obvious. They started exploring how to sell ads alongside search results without ruining the experience. Think about it. Google's entire business model was born from necessity, not strategy, not vision, not careful planning, pure survival instinct. They needed money immediately, or they'd be out of business. That urgency created focus they'd never had before. Meanwhile, Excite focused on portal features, news sections, weather reports, email services, shopping deals, everything except improving their search quality. Bell believed he'd made the right choice. His revenue kept growing. His users seemed happy. Why change anything? But here's the twist that changes everything. Google's forced innovation was creating something revolutionary. They weren't just adding ads to search results. They were creating a completely new advertising model. Text-based ads that loaded fast. Keyword targeting that actually worked. Bidding systems that let small businesses compete with giants. In October 2000, Google launched AdWords after a brief beta with 350 advertisers. Simple text ads that appeared alongside search results. No flashy graphics. No annoying pop-ups, just relevant, useful information that helped users find what they wanted. The ads were so good, people actually clicked on them. Advertisers paid as little as 5 cents per click. It was genius. Excite's dismissal of Google's technology blinded them to the coming search revolution. They couldn't see that industry trends showed decline in portal engagement as search engines gained prominence. The portal model was becoming outdated. Search itself was becoming the destination. Google's desperation forced them to focus on one thing: making search perfect. Every improvement made users happier. Every happy user brought more traffic. More traffic attracted more advertisers. More advertisers meant more revenue. The cycle fed itself. Here's where it gets interesting. Google's advertising model, was completely different from everyone else's. Traditional web ads were about grabbing attention, flashy banners, loud colors, intrusive pop-ups. Google's ads were about providing value, helping users find exactly what they wanted. The better the ad, the more people clicked. Excite kept focusing on keeping users trapped on their site. Google focused on getting users exactly what they wanted as fast as possible. Two completely opposite philosophies. One was about to dominate the internet. The other was about to become irrelevant. By late 2000, the parallel paths were showing dramatically different results. Google's traffic was exploding. Their revenue was growing exponentially. Their technology was getting better every day. They'd gone from desperate to hopeful in just 12 months. Excite's growth was slowing. Their search quality was falling behind. Users were starting to notice better alternatives. But Bell still believed he'd made the right choice. After all, Google was just a search engine. Excite was a complete internet destination. Which business model would win? The answer was about to shock everyone. Within just a few years, the roles would reverse completely. The desperate would become powerful. The powerful would become forgotten. By 2004, the company that rejected Google was fighting for survival while Google prepared to conquer the world. The reversal was so dramatic it seemed impossible. 5 years earlier, Bell had dismissed Page and Brin as desperate students. Now those same students were about to become billionaires while Bell's empire crumbled around him. August 19, 2004, Google's IPO day. The company that couldn't raise $1 million was now worth $27 billion. They offered 19,605,052 shares at $85 each. Raised $1.67 billion in a single day. Wall Street went crazy. Investors fought to get in. The two PhD students who'd lived in a garage were suddenly worth more than most Fortune 500 companies. Think about it. Google went from begging for scraps to becoming one of the most valuable companies in history. In just 5 years, the technology Bell rejected for $1 million was now worth billions. The stubborn demand that killed the deal had saved Google from disappearing forever. Here's where it gets real. Google's traffic was exploding. Their revenue was growing exponentially. Their technology was getting better every day. Meanwhile, Excite's numbers were heading in the opposite direction. Portal traffic declining, search market share evaporating, company value plummeting. Bell watched it happen in real time. Every Google milestone reminded him of what he'd lost. The students he'd dismissed were now tech celebrities. The technology he'd rejected was revolutionizing the internet. The deal he'd walked away from would have made him the richest man in Silicon Valley. But here's the twist that makes this story even more heartbreaking. Bell's decision didn't just hurt him personally. It destroyed careers and dreams. Excite scaled back its workforce as search traffic drifted to competitors. Engineers who'd built Excite's search system were laid off. Marketing teams that had created successful campaigns were disbanded. Customer service representatives who'd helped millions of users were sent home with boxes of their personal belongings. Imagine being one of those employees. You'd worked hard to build something successful. You believed in your company's mission. You trusted your leadership to make smart decisions. Then you watched it all crumble because your CEO was too proud to admit two students had built something better. The brutal irony was impossible to ignore. Bell's $1 million savings had cost Excite the chance to own the future of the internet. The technology he'd rejected was now processing billions of searches daily. The students he'd dismissed were now running the most powerful company in tech. The deal he'd walked away from would have made Excite immortal. Google's explosive growth was unprecedented. From desperate startup to pre-IPO darling in just 5 years. Their revenue went from zero to hundreds of millions. Their user base expanded from thousands to hundreds of millions. Their technology improved from experimental to revolutionary. They'd gone from begging for investments to rejecting them. Meanwhile, Excite's decline was equally dramatic. The company that had once dominated internet portals was now struggling to survive. Their traffic numbers were embarrassing. Their search quality was laughable. Their revenue was shrinking. Their stock price was in free fall. They'd gone from industry leader to industry joke. Industry analysts wrote about Excite's missed opportunity, cementing Bell's decision as a career cautionary tale. The man who'd built one of the internet's first success stories was now known for making one of history's worst business decisions. Tech journalists wrote articles about his failure. Business schools used his story as a cautionary tale. His name became synonymous with missed opportunities. But here's what makes this story truly tragic. Bell wasn't a bad person. He wasn't incompetent. He wasn't malicious. He made a logical decision based on everything he knew about business. His mistake was underestimating the power of revolutionary technology. His failure was not recognizing genius when it walked into his conference room. The $1 million he'd saved had cost Excite everything. The future of the internet. The chance to own the world's most valuable company. The opportunity to change history. All lost because he couldn't see past his own success. What happened next would create two completely different realities. One company would touch billions of lives daily. The other would become a forgotten relic gathering digital dust. Today, Google processes billions of searches daily while Excite.com saw traffic decline into single-digit rankings, per web analytics reports. The contrast is so stark, it seems impossible. One decision in 1999 created two completely different realities, two companies, two futures, two destinies that couldn't be more opposite. Here's where it gets real. Google's current empire is beyond anything Bell could have imagined. Alphabet Inc., Google's parent company, has a market cap of over $1 trillion. They control over 92% of the global search market. 92%. Think about that. Nearly every search you've ever made went through technology that Bell rejected for being too expensive at $1 million. Google touches billions of lives daily. Every question you ask, every business you find, every answer you discover. It all flows through the algorithm that Page and Brin built in that cramped garage. The technology Bell dismissed as unnecessary has become the gateway to human knowledge, the foundation of the modern internet, the most valuable digital asset ever created. Meanwhile, Excite.com exists only as a cautionary tale. The company that once commanded tens of millions of users is now studied in business schools as an example of corporate failure. Students learn about Bell's decision. Professors use it to teach about missed opportunities. The brand that once competed with Yahoo and AOL is now a footnote in internet history. Here's the twist that makes this story so brutal. Bell's decision to save $1 million cost Excite potential ownership of a company now worth over $1 trillion. $1 trillion. The math is staggering. The opportunity cost is incomprehensible. The financial implications stretch beyond anything business history has ever seen. But this isn't just about money. It's about human lives transformed by a single moment of stubborn belief. Larry Page's net worth is estimated at $159 billion. Sergey Brin is worth $141 billion. They're among the 10 richest people in the world. The desperate PhD students who lived in a garage are now more wealthy than most countries' entire GDP. George Bell faded from the tech industry. The man who built Excite into an internet powerhouse became known for making history's worst business decision. His name is remembered not for his successes, but for his failure. His legacy isn't the company he built, but the company he rejected. The cruel irony of reputation in Silicon Valley. Think about the employees who lost everything. Excite workers who believed in their company's mission. Engineers who built functional search systems. Marketing teams who created successful campaigns. Customer service representatives who helped millions of users. All of them paid the price for their CEO's pride. Their jobs disappeared. Their stock options became worthless. Their careers were derailed by a decision they had no control over. But here's what makes this story truly powerful. Page and Brin's belief in their vision, even when desperate, proved worth more than any acquisition offer. They could have taken Bell's rejection as confirmation they were wrong. They could have abandoned their dream. They could have finished their dissertations and become professors. Instead, they chose to fight. Their stubbornness saved them. Their refusal to compromise preserved their creation. Their willingness to risk everything rather than sell for scraps ultimately made them the richest entrepreneurs of their generation. Sometimes the best business decision is refusing to make a deal. This wasn't just about recognizing superior technology. It was about understanding the future of human behavior. Bell saw search as a utility. Page and Brin saw it as the foundation of digital life. Bell wanted to keep users trapped on his portal. Page and Brin wanted to give users exactly what they needed as quickly as possible. Two completely different philosophies about serving customers. The deeper lesson cuts to the heart of entrepreneurship. Revolutionary technology doesn't always look valuable to people who built their success on existing systems. Bell's expertise in portal management blinded him to the coming search revolution. His knowledge became his weakness. His experience became his limitation. What happened next still shapes today's entrepreneurs. The story of Google and Excite proves that getting rejected by the wrong people can be the best thing that ever happens to your company. That believing in your vision when nobody else does can be worth more than any acquisition offer. The question isn't whether Bell made a mistake. The question is whether you'll recognize your own moment when someone doesn't understand your vision. Bell's decision didn't just change two companies. It reshaped the entire internet. His rejection forced Page and Brin to build something bigger than they ever imagined. That no created Google. Think about it. What bold ideas might you be overlooking today, just as Excite overlooked search? What revolutionary concepts are you dismissing because they seem too risky? What desperate entrepreneurs are you turning away because their vision doesn't match your expectations? The next time someone rejects your idea, remember this story. George Bell's No created one of the most valuable companies in human history. Remember, a single no might signal the start of your next big success.